Want to learn how to utilize giveaways to sell more books? Then this is the show for you. Hi, my name's Tonya Duncan Ellis, and I am an author of the Sophie Washington series and host of Write This, my author interview show. And today I'm pleased to welcome Laura Aronberg Roettiger to talk about how you can utilize giveaways to sell more books. And I see that she's joined us, so I'm going to invite her on. Really excited to learn about tips with the giveaways as we enter the holiday season. So these should be tips that might help us find some new marketing methods for holiday. Hey, Laura, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Fine. I'm so glad that you could join me. And especially as we're going into the holiday season, I was excited to learn about you utilizing giveaways to sell your books and to get some tips from you that we can use to sell our books. But before we begin, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and a little bit about your books and how you got into writing?
Sure. My name is Laura Roettiger, and I'm originally from Chicago. I was a lifelong Chicagoan, and I was a teacher in the city of Chicago before moving to where I live now, which is in Colorado. When I first moved in 2016, I moved from the city to the mountains just west of Boulder, Colorado, where there was very little light pollution. So the change was dramatic in every way you can imagine, and the brightness of the full moon was part of what inspired my first book, which I know isn't the original question, but that's what comes up a lot. I did a virtual visit earlier today with my first book, and that's part of the presentation. So one of the things that for me always has been interesting, I've always really enjoyed as a teacher combining two or three different things, because when you're teaching, it's important to make connections with students, to have them make connections between subjects, whether it's, combining the music with the math and literature, or art and science, however it is. So my book is a STEAM book, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. One of the most important things to me is helping other authors see where they can market their books and how we can cross promote. So that is really interesting to me. That is almost more interesting than the actual writing at this point. So
Unicorn, because a lot of authors hate marketing. So you're kind of like a unicorn.
I know, right? So I find that I was in a debut group in 2019, and a lot of the people in my group had books that they didn't think about, oh, I can reach out to this group because that's a place where my book might fit well, whether it was a museum or a sports related group, because that was what their book was about, or something else. So I think that's really important, to think about all of the different places where your book fits, because there's a saying that the worst place to sell your book is a bookstore, because that's all that's there, right? Your competition is every other book in the world, as opposed to if your book, so my book, for example, I'm going to hold it up. I don't know, is this going to be backwards or not?
It is, but that's fine. Just what's the title of your book? Hold it for a minute there. It's a beautiful cover. What's it?
So this way it's not backwards, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
It's not.
we printed it so it wouldn't be backwards.
Okay.
The cover, the title is Aliana Reaches for the Moon, and it's about a little girl who notices how bright the light of the full moon is, and she spends a month learning about light and reflection, and she creates a special surprise at the end of the book to surprise her family, and it's a special surprise for her brother, her little brother, Gustavo.
That's cool. And today actually is National STEM Day.
That's right.
But yes, so this is perfect too for that.
Yeah. So the idea of when my book came out, it was 2019, which was the 50th anniversary of landing on the moon.
Oh, cool.
So, yes. So I was able to cross promote with some other books about the moon. And I was part of a big celebration at a museum here in Colorado, the Wings Over the Rockies Museum. They had a whole week long with different astronauts and other authors and different kinds of events called Apollo Palooza.
Wow.
Yeah, and I did a couple of different days of events for children, and then there was a huge celebration the night that was the moon landing, and they had a big party, and they ordered, I don't even know how many copies of my book, and kept selling out and asking me to bring over more, and I was able to bring over a lot of copies of the book and sign them and sell them, and they've been carrying the book ever since. So that's been really gratifying. And yeah, so things like that are sort of untapped markets for selling books that a lot of people don't think about. And in terms of cross-promoting in a promotion group, we've done some giveaways. So we did our promotion group, which started a year ago in the summer, so almost 18 months now. We did a couple of bundles of books for Thanksgiving. So thankful for readers, thankful for books, you know, and so it's a nice way to spread the word. And when you're combining with other authors or illustrators, you are not just promoting yourself, but you're promoting them as well. And you're realizing that you've got not just your followers or friends or relatives, or in my case, a lot of former students and their families, but the people who you are, you know, working with, their friends and so forth. So it's been a really nice way to share and combine resources.
Now, how can you describe how you structured this giveaway? You mentioned that you had a thankful for readers giveaway. So how did you set this up?
Well, there's different platforms that you can do giveaways. The one that we used, I'm trying to think of what the name of it is. I'll have to come back to you on that. There's different raffle giveaway, you know, different formats. Raffle Copter is one. The one that we used is a different one, and you can, if you follow people who are doing the giveaway on their different social media platforms, you get an extra entry by doing that. And then it's a random, the company that does the giveaway actually randomizes the and chooses the giveaway. Chooses the winners.
So you used a company.
Yeah.
So what's the name of the company, or how?
I'm trying to think of what the name is. I'll have to get back to you on that, and I'll share it with you, and we can put it in the chat for later.
And your friends contracted with a company to set this up for you.
Yes, but it's free. We use the free version. So that's the other thing is I like to do these things in a way so that we're not spending money to promote, that we just put in a little bit of time and energy, and that we're not spending a bunch of money to do it.
Let me get this straight. So there's a company that will set this up. What do they get if they're doing this for free? What benefit is this company getting?
I think because most people switch to the paid version, that's what they get.
Yeah, I want to get a copy of this. So there's some company that will set up your giveaway for you.
Right.
And then they run it for you and do everything. Right. Yeah,
yeah. So Rafflecopter is one, and then the one that we used is the other main one. And I'll have to look. I think that you can create a mailing list from this, but you'd have to have the paid version to do it. And I think that's why most people switch to the paid version. We did not.
Okay. So this company tabulates the entries that are following you on your sites?
Yeah. Well, so every time someone puts in their puts in their email address or follows one of us on our social media, they get another entry.
Okay, and that company does it for you. Yeah, because I've done giveaways myself with authors, but we had to do that ourselves. I didn't know that there was a company. So yes, once you get that information, I'll include that in the show notes so people can.
Perfect. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what it is, and I don't have my laptop in here because I didn't want any other distractions while we're talking.
That sounds cool. Now, what are some best practices that you would advise people to follow if they're doing giveaways?
Well, I think the most important thing when you're doing a giveaway in terms of promoting it on social media and so forth is making it just something that you're sharing, freely, I guess. So because in our promotion group, for example, we are not all in the United States.
Okay.
So we try to do some giveaways that include, and I do on my blog as well, that are available to people around the world. So we do critiques because that can be anywhere, or an ask me anything, like a Zoom. You and I are in different places in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the same country, but we could be in different countries, right? So we don't have to worry about mailing costs.
Now here's another question. How many people are in your group? How many would you recommend people have in the group? Should you have as many as possible or what?
I think it depends on what your goals are. Our group is 16 people. And I think that I know one group that was a middle grade group, and it was during the pandemic. So I think it was a little bit different. Their group was huge. I don't know how big it was, but I think it was closer to like 75 or something. I'm not sure how they ran. And they had a bookshop.org page where they were able to sell a lot of books that way and generate a very small amount of money that kept things. I think that's how they paid for their giveaways. I think they had a paid account. So I'm not really sure how they did it, but our group is 16, and we have a website, and we have it's a Wix website, free version of Wix, and we manage it ourselves. So everybody pitches in and does the workload. We have a Twitter account and an Instagram account. We have people who create graphics. We have people who, in our group. So we do different things, on Canva and so forth. Obviously, with Twitter having made some changes over time recently, or I guess it's been more than a year now, but we're looking at Blue Sky. We haven't gone completely. We don't have a group account there yet because they're still in beta. So eventually we may switch to that. But I think you need to figure out what's manageable for your group and make sure that everybody is on board with what expectations are and how you're going to run it. So we have different people who have decided after a year that they are not going to participate anymore, and then we are replacing them slowly because we've decided that 16 is the right number for our group. Some groups are smaller, some groups are larger. It just kind of depends on what the group itself wants to do.
And then the group, so is it just for giveaways, or it's kind of like a promotional group?
It's promotion. It's not mostly for giveaways. Right. It's for cover reveals. It's for when a book comes out. We had a book birthday yesterday. We've had, some people have had in this period of time have had multiple books come out. So it's more to support each other, and obviously through, the highs and lows of when books are coming out or when things get delayed, so forth. Yeah.
Now with giveaways, what benefits do you see in having giveaways, or what have you seen happen with that?
Well, one of the things with giveaways is you increase who might see your book, whether, you know, I always like to have giveaways where maybe a teacher, especially I do this with my blog because I have giveaways on my blog, and I'll talk about that in a moment, if I may. I love it when a teacher or a librarian wins a giveaway, because that means that not just one household gets that book, but maybe 100 children win a book, right? And say that, I mean in a school. So I think that the exposure of it is what you're giving away, right? You're not, yes, of course, you've given away a book, or maybe you've given away a critique, but it's the exposure, the name recognition. I have been surprised how many people know who I am, know my name, know the name of my book, even if I've never met them, because over time I've built up a reputation and people know my name and have read my blog, and I have people reach out to me if they have a book coming out because they've followed my blog over time, and you know, and they see the value added. So if people are on my blog, they are required to do a giveaway. That's part of my being able to promote it.
Okay, what's your blog or your website?
So my website is laurarettigerbooks.com. So it's my name, and Roettiger is hard to spell. So it's Roettiger. And when I started doing these, I started it during the shutdown, during the pandemic, sort of as a way to keep in touch with other people and as a way to give back, because a lot of people had supported me when my book came out. So in 2020, I was doing two author or illustrator interviews a week, which is a lot. And then I went down to one a week, and now I'm doing 2 a month. And for 2024, I think I'm only going to do one interview, or, you know, one a month, actually. I might squeeze in 2 a month if I've got, you know, an extra person that I really need to help out, because I do have a lot of friends that are now, you know, having a book that's coming out. I don't typically do, I will not host somebody that's already been on my blog, because my interviews are very, it's the same interview every time. So it's 3 pictures and 4 questions. I'm gonna take a sip of water, hang on.
Okay.
So once you've been on the blog, you've already answered those questions. And I feel like, and it's a very short, sweet interview. It's kind of, it's one of those things where once you've been on, I can't really have you back, because it's the same, it would be the same questions. Mm-hmm. So even if it's a different book, basically it's the same thing. So what I've had happen is, what I'm doing is I have people, I did do a couple of group repeats. I had 3 middle grade authors, all of whom I actually knew. So I had them again as a group, and we did a repeat because they all had second, or, well, maybe not second books, but other books coming out at the exact same time. So I hosted them again and did a triple giveaway. And then the following month, I did a back to school with 4 picture book authors and did a back to school giveaway.
So do you find a lot of teachers and librarians are following your blog?
I do have a fair amount of teachers. They don't all comment to win. I'm not one of the bloggers who has as many comments as a few of the other bloggers who do giveaways. But I get messages from people saying, oh, I read your interview and enjoyed it, but they don't necessarily comment to win. They just send me messages. So it's kind of interesting, because I get people who have read it but haven't necessarily weighed in the comment section, which is an interesting piece. But I do feel like it helps with the publicity. It helps people know that there's new books out there. And I'm always happy when a teacher, like I said, or a librarian wins a book, because of course that means that more people are being exposed to it.
Well, you've given us a lot of novel ways to market. And it sounds like, I like what you said in the beginning about being in places that really aren't bookish.
Right.
Putting yourself, because that's what I found personally too, when I do different festivals, if they're not, when they're not book related, I generally will do better
Right.
than book events, because people come and they want to buy multiple books from different authors. Whereas if you're the only book there, then they'll buy, because I have multiple books in my series.
Sure.
So buy a lot for me. So
right.
yeah.
So, and I think you can find ways to combine your book with somebody else's book, or there's ways to, for example, your book and another type, like whether it's a toy or a game or something. So that sort of cross promotion, thinking outside the box, I don't really like that expression, but that's another way to think of it. So those are the ways that my brain works, I guess, in terms of marketing. So that's really interesting to me.
Now, how did you highlight the museum, or how did you approach that when you got your book included in the museum for the moon holiday, you know, the anniversary?
Right.
Right.
I had a field trip there with a class.
Oh.
So when I moved here, I wasn't teaching anymore, but I was mentoring a first-year teacher, and she always needed extra adults to go on field trips. So I went on a lot of field trips with her, and that was one of the field trips that I was part of. So when the book was coming out, I had asked them would they be interested in carrying it, and they were. So they were already carrying the book. Mm-hmm. And they had asked me if I would be interested in participating in this huge event that they were doing for an entire week. So I talked to the programming manager, and we came up with a couple of different ways to create events.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Out networking.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sounds wonderful. Well, any other novel ways that we can market as we're moving into the holiday season?
Well, one of the things I think you have to think about is who's buying books. So a lot of times it's grandparents or other, not necessarily parents, right? Or if it's, I mean, I guess it depends on who your publisher is and who your audience is. So if it's for a picture book audience, obviously the child's not buying the book themselves. So, or if you have a board book, is it a book that's going for a new baby, right? So think about who's buying that, and are you selling it to somebody that's going to a baby shower, right? And try and put yourself out there. I mean, I've had some of the funniest stories in terms of talking to people, and they're like, "Oh, tell me more about your book." And I had somebody buy 4 books because they were going to be going to birthday parties, and they just thought, well, this will be easy, and I'll, tell me where I can get it. And they called the bookstore, and they had 4 books sent. So it's really interesting how, again, I'm obviously an extrovert, which is also unusual for an author, but I'm I'm willing to do that. So I think you have to be willing to put yourself out there and try to sell not just yourself but the book also. And it's interesting how many when I moved, because I've moved a couple different times since I've lived here in Colorado, I moved to a new neighborhood, and people, when I say that I'm an author, they'll look up my book, and the next thing I know, they'll say, "Oh, I ordered your book and sent it to my grandchild," or I'm finding that those little things, add up, those little conversations. So
don't hide the fact that you're an author. You need to get out and let people know what you're doing.
Exactly, because people do want to hear about it. It's not, it's not something to keep to yourself.
Right. Well, I certainly have learned a lot from a lot of your tips. I'm going to look up these giveaways. So when you get the information, Laura, please let me know because I'll add that to the show
I
notes.
will. I'll message you the name of it. I'm trying to think of it off the top of my head. I can't, but I'll find it as soon as we finish this, and I'll send you the name of the company.
Yeah, and I think this is going to inspire people to kind of brainstorm different ideas and ways that they can market their books.
Right.
Yes.
And I think that combining with other people makes it less, oh, look at me now.
Right. I like that. And I actually, in the past, one time I partnered with another author and we went to a local bakery. They invited us in and I had been there before and I had had Santa in because I have a book, a holiday book. And both of us, it was so fun because together we attracted, double the people, and it was with her, like you said, and we could kind of help each other and promote each other's books.
Right. Well, I've done a couple of SCBWI events and with somebody who's a big name. And the very first event I did back in 2019, she and I happened to be at the table together. And then we were together at Fan Fest, well, Comic-Con, whatever it's called, here in Denver, just recently in the summer. And somebody came up and was talking to us, and I was, talking her up because she's a big deal. And it was funny. I said, oh, I'm just here to promote her, because, and it was funny. And she's like, oh no, we're, like she was acting like we're the same, but clearly we're not, because she has a whole series of books plus a couple of graphic novels now. And, is a major, star in the children's book world. And I'm going to be having my second book coming out in February. So,
well, congratulations. That's an accomplishment.
I'm going to hold up that one for you to see too. It's also a STEM book. It's an accidental hero, a mostly true wombat story.
Oh, that's cute. That's nice. Yes. And that's a huge accomplishment to get 2 books published, because we know how difficult all this is. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
But thank you so much, Laura, for joining,
having me.
Information. Tell us where we can reach you on social media and your website again, so people can contact you if they want to follow up.
So I am LJR, and then the words right now, WRITENOW, everywhere. So on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky. And I'm Laura Roettiger Books, LauraRoettiger books.com is my website, and then that'll take you to the blog and anything else.
Okay, great. Okay, well, thank you, Laura, and thank you guys for tuning in, and look forward to seeing you for another episode next week of Write This. Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, bye-bye.